Rules? I don't need no stinking rules. Roll the intro. Greetings and welcome to the Contracting Guy. I am the Contracting Guy, and today I want to talk to you about a continuation of episode 118, which was on public procurement. Today I want to talk to you about public procurement rules, or generally rules related to public procurement. It is important to know that every entity will have a set of rules. The rules for the federal government are different than the state, which may be different in the county, education, and local. It is important to recognize that each have their own processes and how things are supposed to work. You need to know that if you're going to work with them. The rules on competition will be similar, but not necessarily the same. So you need to understand how the rules on competition are to be applied. For the most part, we all know kind of how the federal government does. But the state, local, county, municipal, education, they do things a little bit different. There's some parallel, some similarity, but that's not the same. So you need to know that. They may do set asides. You need to know how they do it, if they do it. Their buying structure, who buys? Very similar to the federal government, which we have credit card holders and then other buyers, who's usually the contracting officer. In state, local, educational, county, they have buyers as well. Not the same as the federal government. So you need to know their buying system and their practices. Often those rules that they have for that are online and available to you. So you need to know how that works. Accountability. Now, the federal government is accountable to the taxpayer, particularly the Congress, and GAO keeps this in check. But how does that work with the state government? Usually, the government and the legislature, which means the governor and the legislature. The other ones are perhaps the mayor or some other entity, county board of officials. How do they do that? They have some accountability structure. You need to know what their accountability structure are. Oftentimes, local, educational, and county may have requirements that are identified in the state constitution. Interesting enough, Ohio, for example, has things identified in the Ohio Revised Code. In other places, they'll have similar things. You need to know that if you're going to work with those people. Need to know that. There are thresholds as well. Now, in the federal government, we have thresholds that deal with a credit card or simplified acquisition and such. There are also thresholds, which means each threshold has a particular buyer that you might want to know. It's like if um, a threshold for credit card might be, let's say 10,000. I'm just throwing that out as a spitball. Whereas they might have something which is called imprest funds. Imprest funds are a lower dollar value, which is kind of like a petty cash, if you will. So they have that also. So you need to know their thresholds, who buys what, and how much can they buy, because there's no no problem at all buying from a particular buyer or selling to a particular buyer whose threshold may be $10,000. A $10,000 purchase with a number of them can be pretty lucrative. Timing. The importance of timing is that when they do present solicitations as well, they publish in on the state boards or in other community boards their solicitations, and you need to be mindful of where they do business. Now, in the federal government, we can say, well, it goes into um, you know FedBizOps or now SAM.gov. You look there, But for the state, local, county, educational, they have their own boards in which they send out the information. So you need to know what that is and how to apply at that time. Timing is important again with all of this. Finally, process. I mentioned that in the beginning, kind of brings everything back around a circle. The process that a state, county, education, and local do is different than the federal government. There are similarities, but there are some differences. And it may be a matter of approvals, who approves, maybe a matter of who's able to buy and what threshold they have. So all of that becomes part of the process they use. Their evaluation processes may be similar, but you'll identify that by looking at the solicitation itself and reading it. In an earlier presentation, I spoke about the thing that people cry the most out, and it's this: they don't read the solicitation and they don't follow directions. Well, what are the directions? It's the rules. It's in the solicitation, but it's also in the rules. What do you have to do to compete and be successful? If you do these things, identify who your customer is, and then you identify the rules they have to follow. So there's no reason to sit there and wag your finger at them and say, "Well, you're just being difficult." They said they are by law, whether it's state law or federal law, they have to follow that. So don't get upset with them just because they're doing their job. Follow the directions that they give. Understand the rules they have to follow so that you can be a more competitive and informed seller. With that being said, I'm the contracting guy. I'm out. Thank you for watching The Contracting Guy. Please like, subscribe, and share the video. We'd appreciate that. This is The Contracting Guy. I'm out.